People living with disabilities are humans first. They have a name, they have an identity. And therefore, when conversing or when in communication with one, refer to them by their name and not by their disability. Hello guys, and welcome to today's episode where we will be looking at the etiquette that we need to go by when in contact or in company of people living with disabilities, and some of the words and terminologies we need to avoid when in communication or conversation with them. Just like there is etiquette for office, for the table, for the phone, we also have etiquette when it comes to dealing and interacting with people living with disabilities. So what exactly is etiquette when it comes to this issue? The first issue I need to mention when it comes to etiquette around those living with disabilities is ask someone before you give your help. Just by the fact that I am struggling with a disability doesn't make me in need for help automatically. So you asking me first whether or not I could use some help is treating me with etiquette. Etiquette in this case just simply means treating people with disabilities with respect. The next item I need to mention is speak to the person with a disability directly and not to the person accompanying them. Take an example of a person who is using a wheelchair so that then they have someone assisting them move around. When communicating or talking to this person, talk to the person who is on the wheelchair directly and not make it look like you're talking to the person helping them. It's just etiquette. Do not make assumptions on what they can or cannot do. It's only prudent that you get to ask them if you would like to know, say their abilities, their extent of what they can do or not, and not make assumptions. You may come across 3 or 4 or so many people with the same disability. Their stories are very different, and so is their ability. Another point on etiquette I would like to mention is think before you speak. Now, depending with the environment or the circumstance under which you're meeting, say if it's a conference, if it's just a meet and greet, if it's in, say, a restaurant and so on, think of what you want to say before you speak, because if, say, it's in a conference, you'll get a chance for this person to introduce themselves, and therefore you will get to know them. When referring or talking to a person living with disability, use people first language. Refer to that person by their name first before their disability. Take an example of a little boy who happens to have autism. Call that boy's name first. Desmond has autism, and not that autistic Desmond. Another item I need to mention is when in the company of a person living with a disability, try your best to focus on their strength and not the disability. Say the person giving a speech on the progress of finding the COVID-19 vaccine happens to have a physical disability. Let the questions and concerns and clarifications and contributions coming from the population or the attendants focus on the content this person is giving about the subject at hand and not deviate and get to their disability. Lastly, disability is not a measure of intelligence or character. After this short break, I will look at some of the terms to avoid when in company or in conversation with a person living with a disability. Don't move a muscle. Welcome back. Now, different sources of information have different words and terms that they would rather are avoided when in conversation or in company with people that live with disabilities. And among them are this. Number 1, wheelchair bound. Instead of saying or referring to a person living with a disability as a wheelchair-bound person, how about you say a person who uses a wheelchair? According to disabledworld.com, avoid terms like victim or even patient when in conversation or when referring to a person living with a disability. Lastly, instead of referring to a person as insane, how about a person with an emotional disability? I have attached a link of the references I have used down below for you who would like to know more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video where I will be looking at the rights of people living with disabilities. Please like, share, and subscribe, and also remember to hit the